Teresa Sabol is Vice President of Federal at TTEC Digital. Teresa, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. What are the things that industry can offer the federal government as far as how to meet the needs of its customers, given the really high demand for a digital experience among customers today?
Well, we really have a lot to offer the government. When you think about AI and implementing AI, it's just going at a speed that's very, very fast. And what it can do is help offload some of the calls or contacts you get from your citizens or your constituents or your customers that really could be answered by artificial intelligence, by a bot, whatever you want to say. And that would leave the more difficult things that would go to a live agent. So it's really helpful when you look at something like TTEC Digital has what's called an AI gateway. So we can integrate whatever AI you'd like to use with your existing contact center. So you don't have to do a lift and shift of the whole contact center just to put AI in it. Even if you have an on-premises system, we can implement AI technologies. And that way your customer can get that experience of calling up to do something self-service that's really a simple operation. And that frees up time for the agents to handle the more complex things coming in.
Does that allow the agencies too to streamline, to make their operations more efficient, the call center operations more efficient too?
It really does help with the efficiency. So when you think about agents taking calls, another area AI can help them in is doing lookups, going to the knowledge management sources that are available and pulling that information out. I used to work at the IRS. I was the contact center director, and our agents, our CSRs would put taxpayers on hold for 7 to 8 minutes to do lookups to help service that taxpayer. Well, this is where an AI, an agent, can help the CSR to go do those automated lookups, pull out the sources, give them to the CSR so that the CSR can focus on the taxpayer and resolving their issue at hand.
Are there tools to enable that CSR to have right in front of that person at the very beginning all the information about the person that they're dealing with on the phone, so I don't have to tell that person, here's my social security number, here's my whatever the information is?
There absolutely is. So you can do that authentication up front and then pass that information to the agent. Now, sometimes federal government policies require the agent to actually re-authenticate. So that might be a policy change that's required, but you absolutely could expedite those things, because we all know if we're asked for information up front and then asked again by an agent, it's a little frustrating. So you want to authenticate once. And even you can simplify the authentication where you pass a PIN to the taxpayer so that then when they get to the agent, they just have to give the PIN. There are lots of methods to do it like that, to simplify the experience, both for the taxpayer or customer on the end, as well as for the agent helping that customer.
What are the best practices for organizations to evaluate what their process is now, what their business process is, to then understand what technology is available to them, AI or maybe something else, to be able to achieve that streamlining, that efficiency?
Yeah. So, Francis, I think it's the customer journey mapping. We go back to, you have to understand the problem that people are trying to solve. Why are people calling up the agency? What are those most common reasons they're calling? What are the things that can be offloaded to self-service? What are the things that actually take a human being? Again, when I worked at the IRS, the former commissioner used to say, the more you put to self-service, then agents can spend time understanding and dealing with complex issues. Like, we've had instances where someone in their family dies and they call up, and that can be a very complex tax scenario. And the agent can deal with that with empathy. So you have to understand, why people are calling. And certainly at my IRS experience, when people get a notice from the IRS, that can be a really scary thing. So again, another thing TTEC Digital is doing is building empathy into the AI. So even when you do have that upfront interaction with a bot, it can be more empathetic to the situation. On the VA, when people call in, they can be dealing with post-traumatic stress and things like that. And so you really have to understand your customer and what they're dealing with and the journeys they're going through so that you can best assist them.
Teresa, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Francis.